I am here to create another video to help with the distribution of the information within our web portal. I think it is important that we're able to communicate, and this particular video is going to be precisely how to gain access to your owner portal, and more specifically how to run the report that matches that of your ACH distributions every 12th of the month. So that way you can run your own reports, and you can see exactly what was included and what was not included as part of that distribution. We get a lot of questions about this because if a payment comes in after the ACH, then it won't show up in the distribution, but it will definitely show up in that monthly income report. So this is why it's important that we create this video and how you and to help you understand how to exactly match up the dates to our distribution. So let's get started. As you know, the first thing you're going to go to our website, which is houstonpropertymanagement.com. Once you're there, you're going to go to your owners tab and scroll down to your owners portal. Once in your owners portal, you're going to be asked for your username and password. This information would have been sent to you via your welcome letter. Your username typically is your email address, and your password is whatever you want to create, what you've created in the past. If you have forgotten about it, or if you don't know what it is, you can always do a forget password using your email address that we have on file for you, and it should help you recover that. If you can't recover, give us a call, and we will send you another email allowing you to reset your password and get back into your portal. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to go ahead and log in. I'm using a fake account that we have here. And so you're going to use your email and your password, and it should get you straight into your owner's portal. Here is the first thing that you're going to see is going to be your dashboard, which basically is a culmination of different information, different things. It is helpful as an overview, but in this particular video, in this segment, what we want to do is focus on the reports and specifically on the owner statement, how to generate that owner statement, and to make sure that the dates that we use match up with what you are getting a distribution for. And this way will help you answer a lot of questions. So let's take a look at that now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go straight to reports. And within reports, you're going to see a variation of these reports. I believe there are more here than usually you will get by default in your owner's portal. But basically, you're going to have a balance sheet, a cash flow, a delinquency, your distribution, financial statement, and your owner statement. And I think you get a profit and loss as well. The one we are going to focus on right now, which is the one we use the most to basically get all the details about what expenses and income you received over the time frame, is going to be the owner statement. So let's go ahead and select owner statement, and feel free to go ahead and follow along with us, so that way you can kind of see with your properties and your information how to generate this information. So once you get to the report owner statement, there are going to be several options that you have here, right? First and foremost, the date range. This is really the most important part in making sure that these dates come correct with how we distributed the ACH. So let's talk about that. Distributions are probably about 90 to 95% on the 12th of every month. So the only time it's going to vary, if the 12th was on a weekend or on a weekend, so if it's on a Saturday, then the ACH distribution they typically do on the 11th, which would be the Friday. If the 12th landed on a Sunday, then the distribution for the ACH is done on the 13th, which would be that Monday. So let's look at that now, and let's look at the actual distribution for, let's say, August. Okay, so we're going to look at the distribution done in August, which means that we're going to count for the days of the distribution, the day after the previous distribution, which would have been in July. So if we distributed on Friday the 12th, then for the August distribution, we're going to start looking at the information on the 13th, and then we're going to search for the date of August of the date on that distribution, which would have been the 12th exactly. So remember, The start date is going to be the day after the last distribution, and the end date is going to be the day of the actual distribution. Okay, we're looking for anything that is included in the distribution for August 12th, and so we start from the 13th through the 12th. Okay, that will get us that information. And you have any questions about this, I'll be glad to answer them. But again, the day after the previous distribution, using the information that we discussed, if the previous distribution happened to be the 12th landing on a weekend, then make the decision of the 11th or the 13th, and then add a day, right? And then same thing, if the distribution we want to include is in this case August, and it lands on the 12th is on a weekend, then again, if it's Saturday, select Friday. If it's Sunday, select Monday. Now, when it comes to showing details, here's where you're going to select how much in details. If you do not select show details in income, you're going to get basically a total of the income you received in that time period, and the same thing with expenses. You're going to get a summary. If you select the details, it's going to tell you every single transaction that occurred in that time period, and then you can select show detail of other transactions. Here you just whether you want to wrap the information or not, and then lastly here you're going to select whether you want to separate your report by property or units or not. So if you have a multi-family, let's say you have an apartment complex and you have 20 units in there, and you want to get the report per unit, then you will be able to do that. If you have 5 houses and they're separate and apart in the accounting and everything else, and you select separate by properties, then you will have a report for each one of those properties. That's what I would recommend that you do both. Do not separate, so that way you can see all of the transactions in one report and the actual distribution of how it occurred. And then you can look at separate by properties and look at each one separately, just to kind of get an idea of how each property performed, separate and apart. So right now I'm going to look at do not separate, and I'm going to get a full report of all the properties we have. Okay, and then we're going to, once we're there, here it asks for exclusion. So if there's information you don't want to look at, like the mailing header and phone numbers, then you can actually omit that information from the report. Once you're happy with your selections, you're going to do run report, and it's going to, in this case, run a PDF report and show you all that information on the reports, on the owner statement that we're looking at. So to be clear, here you're going to see basically a total of all the properties. In this case, there's a 3-property segment. There's 3 properties in this particular statement, and basically here is going to show you, okay, here's all the income we received for all 3 properties from all 3 tenants, right? So we received $5,066.20 in this particular statement, so it shows it all right here. Don't forget that you have a starting bank balance with us, right? So this is based on the dates that we selected. So as of that date, and it should be basically your reserve, because we've done a distribution immediately the day before these dates we selected. Okay, and you can see the date range right here. Moving forward, here you can have the basic expenses that you had for all 3 properties. So if we had a termite, in this case we had some make-ready information, we have dues for one of the HOAs, and so forth. And so here's the expenses we had during this time period. Okay, and then ultimately you have your net income, which is basically the difference between your income and your expense, right? So it's 5,066 less than 956 that we expensed. Your net income is 4,159 cents. This is a question I get a lot, is what is undeposited funds? Well, let's say a tenant comes in and makes a payment somewhere near the time that the ACH was run. Well, in those particular cases, those payments probably have not made it into the bank account. They have made the payment and it has been recorded, But if they go through, if the tenant goes through our owner, through a tenant portal, they make their payments. If they make it through ACH or even a credit card, then that payment may take 2 to 3 days for actually to be deposited into our bank account and to reflect into a system. So needless to say, when we have our net income, we come here and we say, oh, we have undeposited funds. It says we're going to subtract 2166 from here to get what we actually, what we actually have earned, right? Ultimately, then you can look here where it says owner distribution. The line right here says owner distribution, and this should match exactly with what you were to have received in your bank account on this distribution. Okay. There are other transactions that may affect that. In this case, there are sometimes owner contributions if you move funds from one property to the other, which in this case is exactly what happened. All right, we move funds from one to the other, and that's why we credited one property and debited another. So that way, because one property obviously didn't have enough funds to cover all the expenses, so in that particular case, the system automatically moved funds from the property that did have funds to a property that didn't, so that way all the reserves could be met. In this case, if we had 3 properties at $500 reserve each, then it would be $1,500. So having said that, the property was distributed $734 to your bank account while retaining the $1,500 reserve in place. So this is the main way that you actually look at your statement for the time range that affects your ACH distribution. So having said that, I hope that this gives you some insight as to how to run these reports for the appropriate date and how you can look at this information so that way you know exactly how much was distributed. From here, we'll create more videos that should be able to help you. Please reach out to us with any questions. We're here to help. I hope that this was helpful. Please let us know. We want to make this as easy as possible for all of our clients. And if there's another video that you would like to see, please feel free to reach out or send me an email and say, hey, you know what, I would love to see how to, either run a report or how do I look at my work orders or whatever the case might be. We want to be able to help, and that way, because of the time differences in many countries and many of our clients, that would be the best way to do it because we can answer, questions without being present at the time. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for listening, and we're here to help.